The void between Proxima Centauri's outer planets held secrets. Lieutenant Sarah Chen knew this as she guided the stealth scout vessel Whisper through the asteroid field, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. The ship's quantum sensors had detected unusual energy signatures, the kind that suggested either a breakthrough or an ambush. "Record final log," she murmured, eyes scanning the field ahead. "Scout vessel Whisper, Day 47 of deep space reconnaissance. Energy signatures consistent with Class IV quantum fluctuations detected in Sector 7. Moving to investigate." The Whisper lived up to its name, sliding between rocky masses with barely a ripple in space. It was humanity's newest stealth technology, incorporating everything they'd learned from a decade of studying alien wreckage. Not perfect, but it had kept Sarah alive for 47 days in hostile territory. A flash of light caught her attention, a reflection where there shouldn't be one. Sarah's enhanced reflexes, courtesy of neural augments, kicked in before her conscious mind processed the danger. The Whisper dove sharply, narrowly avoiding a plasma burst that would have vaporized the hull. "Tactical, full scan," she barked. The ship's AI responded instantly, projecting a three-dimensional map of the surrounding space. What she saw made her blood run cold. 3 Vrax warships decloaked, their crystalline hulls catching starlight like predatory fish emerging from dark waters. The Vrax, humanity's most technologically advanced adversaries, known for their arrogance as much as their superior weaponry. "Well," Sarah muttered, "there's your quantum fluctuations." The Whisper accelerated through the asteroid field, its stealth systems training to maintain coverage. Sarah's mind raced through options. The scout vessel wasn't built for combat, especially not against Vrax warships. Her best chance was to reach the gravity well of the nearest gas giant and use it for a quantum slip back to friendly space. The ship's speakers crackled with an incoming transmission. "Human vessel," a voice dripped with contempt, speaking perfect English. "Your attempts at stealth technology are amusing. Primitive species should know their place." Sarah ignored the taunt, focusing instead on plotting a course through the increasingly dense asteroid field. The Vrax were technological superior, yes, but their ships were larger, less maneuverable. If she could just. The Whisper shuddered violently. Warning lights flooded the cockpit as the port engine took a direct hit. "Hull integrity at 64%, the AI reported calmly. "Port quantum matrix destabilizing." Sarah's hands flew across the controls, rerouting power, but she knew she was in trouble. The Vrax weren't firing to destroy. They were toying with her, deliberately crippling the ship. "Your species' audacity continues to astound us," the Vrax commander transmitted again. "Sneaking through our territory with stolen technology you barely understand. Perhaps we should take you alive. Study how your primitive minds attempt to grasp concepts beyond your evolution." The Whisper took another hit, this one spinning the vessel into an uncontrolled roll. Sarah fought with the controls, managing to stabilize just in time to see a massive asteroid looming ahead. She had seconds to make a decision. "Emergency Protocol Sierra 9, she commanded. The AI acknowledged with a soft chime as Sarah pulled the ship into a desperate maneuver. The Whisper skimmed the asteroid's surface, its remaining engine screaming in protest. At the last possible moment, Sarah triggered the emergency quantum pulse. The resulting explosion looked, to the Vrax sensors, like a simple drive failure. They watched with smug satisfaction as the human vessel crashed into the asteroid's surface, breaking apart on impact. Their sensors showed no survivors could have possibly remained intact. But sensors could be fooled. Deep within the asteroid's largest crater, in a small pocket of vacuum created by the crash, Sarah Chen lay wounded but alive in her survival suit. The emergency protocol had worked, a controlled crash, using the asteroid's mineral composition to mask life signs. She was injured, her left leg badly broken, but alive. Through her suit's cracked visor, she watched the Vrax ships maintain their position, probably waiting to confirm their kill. They were thorough, She'd give them that. But they'd made a critical mistake, one that every technologically superior species seemed to make when dealing with humans. They'd assumed their sensors told them everything they needed to know. With trembling fingers, Sarah reached for a small device secured in her suit's chest pocket. It looked simple, almost crude compared to Vrak's technology. But its appearance was deceiving, like humanity itself. "Let's see how primitive you think we are," she whispered, activating the quantum beacon. Its signal would be virtually undetectable to Vrak's sensors, operating on principles they dismissed as theoretically impossible. But Sarah knew better. She'd helped design it. Now all she had to do was survive long enough for help to arrive, and hope that the stories about what the Vraks did to captured humans were exaggerated. The alien ships loomed above, their crystalline hulls casting strange shadows across the asteroid's surface. Sarah checked her suit's oxygen levels. 12 hours remaining. More than enough time, assuming the beacon worked. Assuming help was close enough to respond. Assuming a lot of things. She smiled grimly. Assumptions were dangerous things in war. The Vraks were about to learn that lesson the hard way. Command Superior Zexnar watched the asteroid field through the bridge's crystal viewport, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. 3 cycles of patient surveillance had finally paid off. The humans' attempts at stealth technology were laughably primitive, even if they showed surprising ingenuity in their implementation. "Analysis of the wreckage," he demanded, turning to his science officer. "Confirming complete destruction." "Command Superior," the officer responded, interfacing directly with the ship's quantum core. Their vessel's construction was interesting. They've attempted to reverse engineer our phase shift technology, but their understanding is fundamentally flawed. Zexanar's outer eyes narrowed while his central eye focused on the crash site. Something felt wrong. The humans had proven surprisingly resilient over the years, managing to survive encounters that should have annihilated them. Their technological inferiority was offset by an almost pathological refusal to accept defeat. "Launch probe droids," he ordered. "I want that wreckage thoroughly examined." 6 crystalline spheres detached from the Vrak's flagship, descending toward the asteroid's surface. Their sensors were far more sophisticated than anything humans had encountered before, capable of detecting the quantum signature of a single cell. Deep in her crater hideout, Sarah Chen watched the probe droids approach through her suit's heads-up display. Her broken leg had gone mercifully numb, though the medical nanites were working overtime to prevent shock. She knew the Vraks wouldn't be satisfied with simply destroying her ship. They were methodical to the point of obsession. The nearest probe droid landed 20 meters from her position, its crystalline surface refracting starlight in ways that hurt her eyes. Sarah held her breath, trusting in the quantum masking field generated by her suit. It was experimental technology, barely tested, but right now it was all she had. "Fascinating," the Vrak's science officer's voice carried through her suit's compromised communications array. "The human vessel's quantum core shows signs of recent theoretical advancement. They're learning faster than projected. Learning to imitate what they don't understand," Zexnar dismissed. "Like primates mimicking their masters. Still, this incursion cannot go unpunished. Prepare a message buoy for their command. Let them see what happens to spies." Sarah's hand tightened around her beacon. The quantum signal it emitted was based on principles the Vraks considered impossible, the combination of human theoretical physics and desperate innovation. They believed quantum entanglement couldn't be controlled at a macro level. They were wrong. The probe droid passed directly overhead, its sensors sweeping the crater. Sarah's suit registered multiple scan attempts, each one more focused than the last. The masking field flickered, struggling to maintain coherence. "Command Superior," the science officer's voice carried a note of uncertainty. "I'm detecting unusual quantum fluctuations. They don't match any known pattern." "Explain," Zexnar demanded. "The signatures are chaotic, as if someone was attempting to create controlled quantum entanglement on a massive scale. But that's theoretically impossible with their level of technology." Sarah smiled grimly as she heard the confusion in the alien's voice. Impossible was humanity's specialty. The probe droid suddenly froze, its sensors focusing directly on Sarah's position. The masking field had failed. Before she could react, crystalline restraints shot out, pinning her against the crater wall. Well, Zexanar's voice dripped with amusement. It seems we have a survivor. Bring her aboard. I want to understand how she managed to hide from our initial scans. The restraints tightened, and Sarah felt herself being lifted. Through her cracked visor, she watched the Vrax flagship grow larger. Its crystal hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, creating an impression of infinite depth. Your persistence is admirable, Zexanar transmitted directly to her suit, but ultimately futile. Whatever primitive signals you were attempting to send have been blocked. No help is coming. Sarah didn't respond. She didn't need to. The beacon in her chest pocket continued its work, sending quantum-entangled particles through space in patterns the Vrax couldn't detect because they'd never considered them possible. Their certainty in their technological superiority was about to become their greatest weakness. As she was brought aboard the flagship, Sarah caught glimpses of its interior through her damaged visor. The Vrax technology was beautiful in its complexity, but she noticed something they probably thought impossible: similarities to human theoretical designs. They weren't as far ahead as they thought. Put her in the analysis chamber, Zexanar ordered. I want to know everything about her suit's capabilities, and check her for hidden devices. Sarah felt the probe droid's restraints deposit her roughly on a crystalline platform. Her broken legs screamed in protest, but she maintained her silence. The Vrax gathered around, their three-eyed faces reflecting a mixture of curiosity and contempt. Your species continues to surprise us. Zexanar approached, looming over her. But surely you must realize the futility of your position. Why not simply tell us what we want to know? We might even let you live as a study subject. Sarah finally spoke, her voice steady despite the pain. You know what your biggest mistake is? Enlighten me, human. You think you've won because you can't imagine losing. Sarah managed to smile. That's why you'll never understand us. We don't need to imagine it. We've lost enough times to know it's never final. The beacon pulsed once, quietly, in her pocket. Right on schedule. Fascinating perspective, Zexanar replied. But ultimately irrelevant. Your primitive technology cannot. An alarm cut through his words, its crystalline tone signaling something the Vrax had believed impossible. Multiple quantum signatures had just appeared around their ships, signatures that shouldn't exist. Sarah's smile widened. Never call something impossible just because you haven't figured it out yet. The space around the Vrax ships began to distort, reality itself seeming to tear open. Help wasn't coming. It was already here. The quantum ruptures materialized like black holes wrapped in lightning, tearing holes in space where no natural phenomenon should exist. From these impossible breaches emerged humanity's best-kept secret: the Ghost Fleet. 3 ships phased into existence, their hulls seeming to shift between solid and ethereal states. They weren't beautiful like Vrax vessels. They were functional, brutal things built from desperation and innovation. Each ship incorporated recovered alien technology, merged with human ingenuity in ways their original creators had never imagined. On the Vrax flagship's bridge, Zexanar's 3 eyes widened in genuine shock. Impossible, he whispered, mandibles clicking rapidly. They're quantum signatures. They're using controlled chaos theory. Vrax vessels, a human voice transmitted across all frequencies. This is Admiral Helena Reyes of the Ghost Fleet. You have one of our officers. Release her, and you may leave with your ships intact. Zexanar recovered quickly, his contempt returning. You dare threaten us? Your vessels are abominations, crude attempts to copy technology you don't understand. We are the Vrax. We do not surrender to primitives. In the analysis chamber, Sarah watched through her cracked visor as the Vrax crew rushed to battle stations. They still didn't understand what they were facing. The Ghost Fleet wasn't trying to copy Vrax technology. They'd taken it in an entirely new direction. Final warning. Admiral Reyes transmitted. Release Lieutenant Chen. Zexnar barked orders in his native tongue, and the flagship's crystal hull began to pulse with gathering energy. The other two Vrax ships moved into attack formation, their superior technology charging for a coordinated strike. Sarah closed her eyes and braced herself. The Ghost Fleet struck first. Not with conventional weapons or even advanced alien tech, but with something uniquely human-controlled quantum chaos. The space around the Vrax ships began to distort as probability itself was weaponized. "What are they doing?" The Vrax science officer screamed. "The quantum field calculations are. They're deliberately introducing random variables." The humans had learned early in the war that they couldn't match Vrax technology directly. So they'd done something the aliens considered insane. They'd developed weapons that exploited quantum uncertainty itself. The Ghost Fleet's main guns didn't fire energy or projectiles. They fired probability disruption waves. The first shot hit the nearest Vrax support ship. Its crystalline hull, designed to handle any conventional attack, suddenly existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Sections of the ship began to phase in and out of reality as probability itself became unstable. "Impossible." Zexnar rage. "All ships, open fire. Show these primitives the price of their arrogance." The Vrax ships launched a devastating barrage of conventional energy weapons, but the Ghost Fleet vessels shifted and phased, the attacks passing through them, as if they were made of smoke. They weren't dodging. They were existing in multiple probable states at once. "You still don't understand." Sarah spoke up from the analysis chamber, her voice carrying across the bridge. "We didn't try to copy your technology. We looked at it and asked what else could this do." The Ghost Fleet's second volley struck the other Vrax support ship. This time, the quantum chaos caused its weapon systems to exist in a state of having already fired and not yet firing simultaneously. The resulting paradox turned the ship's own weapons against it, crystal hull cracking under impossible stresses. Admiral Reyes transmitted again. "Your weapons are designed for certainty. Ours embrace uncertainty. That's why you can't beat them. You're still fighting with rules we've learned to break." Zexnar spun toward Sarah, rage distorting his features. "What have you done? This defies all known physics." "No," Sarah corrected him, managing to sit up despite her injuries. "It defies all physics, you know. We learned something from studying your technology. Not how to copy it, but how to think beyond it." The flagship shuddered as quantum chaos waves began to eat away at its probability field. Systems started failing as they existed and didn't exist simultaneously. The perfect certainty of Vrax technology was becoming their greatest weakness. "Your ships are powered by quantum certainty," Sarah explained, almost sympathetically. "Ours are powered by quantum possibility. You see the difference? You built better machines. We learned to break the rules the machines run on." The bridge erupted in chaos as systems failed across the ship. The Vrax crew, trained to handle any conventional battle, found themselves facing an enemy that didn't just ignore their technological superiority. It turned that superiority into a vulnerability. Through her damaged visor, Sarah watched humanity's greatest innovation at work. The Ghost Fleet hadn't just leveled the playing field. They'd changed the game entirely. And as the Vrax flagship began to lose coherence with normal spacetime, she saw something she never thought she'd see in a Vrax's three eyes. Fear. The impossible had become possible. The primitives had learned to weaponize chaos itself, and the galaxy's most technologically advanced species was about to learn that sometimes the best way to win wasn't to build a better weapon, it was to change what a weapon could be. The battle for survival had just become a lesson in humility. The Vrax flagship's crystal bridge resembled a shattered kaleidoscope, as reality itself seemed to fracture around it. Command Superior Zexnar watched in horror as his perfect machines began to fail in ways that shouldn't be possible. "Full power to quantum stabilizers," he roared, but his crew's responses were drowned out by the sound of crystal cracking as probability waves tore through their defenses. A ghost fleet vessel phased through the flagship's upper hull, existing in multiple states simultaneously. Where Vrak's ships were elegant crystal arrows, this human vessel looked like a dark predator, all angles and shadows, more void than matter. Its hull rippled with controlled chaos, defying the laws of physics that the Vraks had built their empire upon. Fascinating design, isn't it? Sarah Chen spoke from her restraints, her voice steady despite her injuries. We call it quantum flux architecture. The hull exists in a perpetual state of probability collapse. You can't hit what might not be there. Silence. Zexnar spun toward her, all three eyes blazing. This is an abomination. You've corrupted the natural laws themselves. No, Sarah corrected, watching as more systems failed around them. We just stopped assuming we knew all the laws. The bridge rocked as another quantum chaos wave hit. Warning crystals shattered, their perfect resonance disrupted by probability fluctuations. Through the viewport, they watched one of their support ships break apart, its sections existing in multiple timelines simultaneously. Clear the analysis chamber, Admiral Rice's voice echoed through the failing ship. We're extracting our officer. Before Zexnar could respond, three figures materialized in the chamber, ghost fleet operators in probability-shifted combat suits. Their forms flickered between states, making them impossible to target. The Vrak's guards opened fire, but their energy weapons passed through possible versions of the humans, while the real ones moved with surgical precision. Stay back. Zexnar raised his personal weapon, its crystal core humming with power. I'll destroy your precious officer myself. One of the ghost fleet operators turned toward him, their suit's surface rippling like dark water. Negative, a calm voice replied. You're already contained. Zexnar didn't understand until he tried to move and couldn't. A quantum probability field had frozen him between potential states. He existed in a superposition of having already fired and never reaching for his weapon. Sarah felt the crystal restraints dissolve as one operator reached her. Lieutenant Chen, the figure's helmet retracted, revealing the woman with steel-gray eyes. Admiral Rice sends her compliments. Ready for extraction. Wait, Sarah gripped the operator's arm, forcing herself to stay conscious. Their quantum core. We need it. The operator nodded, signaling to her teammates. One moved to the bridge's central crystal, while the other maintained the probability field containing the Vrak's crew. You dare. Zexnar raged, still trapped between states. That technology is beyond your comprehension. Actually, Sarah managed a pained smile. We comprehend it better than you. You see it as perfect, unchangeable. We see it as a starting point. The ghost fleet operator reached the quantum core, placing a device against its surface. The crystal's perfect structure began to shift, its atomic lattice restructuring as probability waves guided it into new configurations. What are you doing? The Vrak's science officer whispered, horrified. The quantum matrix. You're changing its fundamental nature. We're teaching it new tricks, Sarah explained as the operator held her stand. Your technology is incredible, but it's limited by your certainty. You never ask, what if? We never stop asking. The quantum core pulsed once, twice, and then its crystal structure transformed. Where once it had been a perfect lattice of absolute states, now it shifted and flowed like liquid light. The Vraks watched in disbelief as their most advanced technology was not just stolen but fundamentally changed. Extraction complete, the lead operator reported. Core secured. Lieutenant Chen is stable. Sarah looked at Zexnar one last time as the probability field began to wrap around their team. Remember this moment, she said softly. Remember that the universe is bigger than your understanding of it. That's humanity's real strength. We never assume we know everything. The extraction team phased out of normal space, taking Sarah and the transformed quantum core with them. As they shifted through probability states, Sarah caught a final glimpse of the Vrak's flagship's bridge, of the most advanced species in known space watching their certainties crumble. The Ghost Fleet vessels began their withdrawal, their quantum chaos weapons having reduced the Vrax squadron to scattered crystal and twisted probability. They didn't destroy the ships completely. That wasn't the mission. The mission was to show the Vrax something they had never expected: the future. As consciousness finally began to fade, Sarah heard Admiral Rice's voice through her suit's comm. "Well done, Lieutenant. Your beacon worked perfectly. And thanks to you, we've just changed the rules of engagement entirely." The last thing Sarah saw before the darkness took her was the Vrax flagship, its crystal hull now etched with quantum probability scars, permanent reminders that sometimes the most primitive species could teach the most advanced ones about the true nature of progress. The impossible had become probable, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks after the encounter in Proxima Centauri, Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her dress uniform pristine, her recently healed leg bearing her weight easily. Through the chamber's vast windows, Earth's orbital defense platforms glinted in the sunlight, their designs already incorporating lessons learned from the captured Vrax quantum core. "Lieutenant Chen," Admiral Rice addressed her from the council panel, "your mission has fundamentally altered the balance of power in this sector. The Vrax have withdrawn their forward fleets to defensive positions. They're scared." "Not scared, Admiral," Sarah corrected respectfully. "Uncertain. And for the Vrax, that's far more significant." Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing analysis of the transformed quantum core. What had once been rigid crystal perfection now flowed like digital mercury, existing in multiple probability states simultaneously. Human scientists had done more than study it. They'd taught it to evolve. "The Vrax Council has requested diplomatic contact," another council member announced. Their first message was interesting. They wish to discuss, and I quote, "the implications of quantum uncertainty in technological development." A quiet chuckle rippled through the chamber. The Vrax, who had dismissed humanity as primitive copycats, were now asking for theoretical physics discussions. "They've realized their mistake," Sarah offered. "They thought technological superiority meant having the most advanced version of known sciences. We showed them that real advancement means discovering new sciences entirely." Admiral Rice nodded, studying the combat footage from the encounter. The Ghost Fleet vessels phased through reality like digital specters, their quantum chaos weapons turning certainty itself into a vulnerability. "We didn't beat them with better technology," she mused. "We beat them with better questions." "That's humanity's real strength," Sarah agreed. "We don't just ask how something works, we ask what else it could do." The Vrax built perfect machines. We taught those machines to dream. The quantum core's display shifted, showing how human scientists had introduced controlled uncertainty into its crystal matrix. They hadn't just copied Vrax technology. They'd shown it new possibilities that its creators had never imagined. "The Vrax warships survived," another council member noted. "Their crews will report what they saw, what they experienced." "Good," Sarah said firmly. "Let them report that humanity doesn't just adapt. We transform. We take the impossible and make it probable. Then we ask what's next." Admiral Rice stood, addressing the full council. The Ghost Fleet program was built on this principle, that humanity's greatest asset isn't our technology, but our perspective. The Vrax see physics as a set of absolute laws. We see it as a set of guidelines waiting to be rewritten. The displays showed the aftermath of the battle. Vrax ships marked with quantum probability scars, their perfect crystal hulls now bearing permanent reminders of chaos theory in action. But more importantly, they showed the fear in the Vrax crew's eyes. Not fear of defeat, but fear of something worse. The realization that they didn't understand everything after all. "Lieutenant Chen," Admiral Rice turned back to Sarah. "Your actions have opened a new chapter in this conflict. The Vrax are requesting technological exchange talks. They want to understand how we did it." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "They still don't get it, do they? It's not about how we did it. It's about how we thought to try. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just survived an encounter with superior technology. They changed what technology could be. The quantum core pulsed in its display, its crystal structure dancing between possibilities, demonstrating with every fluctuation that the impossible was just the beginning. "We've received reports," a council member added, "that other alien races are taking notice. The Vraks were considered unassailable. Now they know better." Sarah finished. "Now everyone knows better. Humanity isn't catching up to advanced alien technology. We're taking it somewhere new." Admiral Rice gestured, and the displays showed new Ghost Fleet vessels under construction, their designs incorporating the lessons learned from the transformed quantum core. They were neither human nor Vraks in appearance. They were something entirely new. "The galaxy's about to change," Sarah observed, watching the construction feeds. "The Vraks taught us about quantum certainty. We taught them about quantum possibility. I wonder what we'll all learn next." As if in answer, the captured quantum core pulsed again, its crystal structure shifting into a configuration that should have been impossible. But impossible was just another word for something that hadn't been tried yet. And humanity was very good at trying the impossible. "Council is adjourned," Admiral Rice announced. "Lieutenant Chen, please remain. We have a new mission for you. The Vraks aren't the only ones who need to learn that underestimating humanity is a mistake." Sarah stood straighter, her eyes bright with possibility. "Where are we going next, Admiral?" "Somewhere impossible." Rice smiled. "Your specialty, I believe." The quantum core's display flickered one last time, showing infinite possibilities in its crystal matrix. Like humanity itself, it had evolved beyond its original design. And like humanity, it was just getting started. The impossible was waiting, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what impossible really meant.